The restaurant was called Le Corse, a 28-seat temple of gastronomy tucked into a narrow street in the 7th arrondissement of Paris. 3 years running, it had held 2 Michelin Stars, and everyone in the trade knew the third was coming this season. Julien Valadier was on every magazine cover, his face sharp and handsome under the chef's toque, his arms permanently folded in that trademark arrogant half-smile. Behind every great man, the journalists always began, then trailed off with pity when they met Mara, his wife. Mara Valadier, née Costa. 41 years old, no makeup, hair in a low knot, thick glasses, sensible flat shoes. The woman who did the books paid the suppliers and disappeared into the tiny office at the back so Julien could shine in the open kitchen. They called her the little mouse to her face, laughing, because Julien did. Julien never noticed that the little mouse had stopped flinching at the nickname 2 years earlier. He also never noticed that every time he screamed at the Guatemalan prep cooks in the basement, Mara's phone, propped innocently on the spice shelf, was recording. He never noticed that the second set of books she kept on an encrypted USB stick was now 187 pages long. He never noticed that she had quietly refinanced their shared apartment 6 months earlier and moved every euro of her own inheritance money into an account in her maiden name. And he absolutely never noticed that the Michelin inspectors had booked Table 7 for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of Guide Week under 3 different fake names. Thursday, Julien was in peak form. He kissed the young Swedish stagiaire on the mouth in full view of the dining room, winked at a famous actress, and sent out an extra course from the chef to the Table 7. The inspector smiled politely and made notes. Friday. He was high on adrenaline and cocaine. In the walk-in, he told the actress he would leave Mara the minute the 3rd star is in the bag. The actress laughed too loudly. Mara, pretending to do inventory, recorded that too. Saturday. Service on Saturday began at 19:30 sharp. The dining room was perfect. White tablecloths, the faint scent of truffle, the low murmur of the ultra-rich. Julien wore his dress whites like armor. At 20:17, Mara walked out of the office carrying nothing but a small black moleskin envelope. She was dressed differently tonight. Charcoal silk blouse, heels, hair down for the first time in years. She looked like someone the room had never met. She stopped in the middle of the pass, directly under the hot lamps, and laid the envelope in front of Julien. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Labor Inspectorate raid scheduled 2100 hours tonight. Health and safety violation report attached. Rodent droppings in dry storage, reused duck fat, no hand-washing logs. Full ledger of 1.8 million euro in undeclared cash payments delivered to Guide Michelin HQ at 1700 hours today. Audio files of racial abuse delivered to Le Monde and France Inter at 1800 hours today. Your mistress has just posted the video of you doing lines off the marble at 1945. It's trending. Julien read it once. His face went the color of uncooked veal. At 20:09, the front door opened and 4 inspectors from the Direction Générale du Travail walked in with clipboards. At 20:03, 2 men in Michelin's red polo shirts stood up from Table 7, showed their badges, and quietly asked the diners to remain calm. At 20:07, the health department sealed the kitchen. At 20:12, every phone in the dining room began to vibrate with the same push notification. Celebrity chef Julien Valadier accused of fraud, racism, and sanitary violations. Le Corse closed with immediate effect. The actress threw a glass of 1996 Krug at Julien's head and stormed out. The Swedish stagiaire started crying because her visa depended on this job. Julien tried to speak, but no sound came out. Mara stood perfectly still, hands folded in front of her, watching. By midnight, the brigade had been sent home in tears. The walk-ins were padlocked. Yellow tape crisscrossed the entrance. A crowd of journalists waited outside like wolves. Julien, coatless, white-stained with foie gras fat and tears, was escorted out the back by 2 labor inspectors. Someone spat on him. 3 days later, the Michelin Guide issued a statement. Le Corse had been removed from the guide entirely, not demoted, erased. 1 month later, Mara opened a tiny 18-seat place on Ile de Ré. No website, no social media, reservations only by handwritten letter. She called it La Vraie Ecorse, the true bark. Simple, seasonal, zero theatrics. Within 14 months, it held 1 Michelin Star, then 2. The inspectors wrote, "Here is cooking that speaks with quiet authority and absolute integrity." Julian washed dishes there the following summer. He arrived on a Tuesday morning with a fake name and a baseball cap pulled low. Mara met him at the back door, looked him up and down once, and handed him an apron. "You start at 6 a.m., you finish when the last pot is dry. You speak to no one, you look at no one. You are paid in cash every Friday. If you are late once, you are gone." He nodded, eyes on the floor. Every evening at 22:30, when the guests had left, Mara sat alone at table 1 with a glass of Sancerre and watched Julian scrub the grease trap on his knees. She never spoke to him. She never needed to. Some nights when the wind came in off the Atlantic carrying salt and pine, she allowed herself the smallest, coldest smile. Not because he suffered, but because he finally understood the taste of consequences, and it was precise, metallic, unforgettable. The 3rd star never came for Julien Valadier again. It arrived from Mara Costa's restaurant the following March, announced quietly, without fanfare. She was not there for the ceremony. She was in the kitchen, sleeves rolled, checking the temperature of a piece of turbo with her finger, the way her grandmother had taught her 40 years earlier. The inspector asked if she wished to say a few words to the press. Mara dried her hands, looked straight into the cameras, and spoke only once. "I have nothing to prove, only dinner to cook." Then she went back to the stove.